Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Big O Nerd. The original OP is Sparkalini. Posted to r/Drew Off My Chest, May 4th, 2026. My daughter turned 18 and left home 2 days later. I thought I had done everything as best I could. She always struggled with following rules, structure, plans. There had been many struggles over the years. Major ones, big things that might have broken other people, but not us. In the fall, she was focused. She wanted to be an art teacher. She applied to schools, got accepted to her top choice. I think things are going great. Her older brother got his associates during high school and started his third year of college at his chosen school this year. He graduated last year. I mentioned him just to say I thought she was on the same track. So did he. He helped her with the forums, the applications, we all cheered her on. Then, about 3 months ago, things started changing. She was skipping classes, showing up late, not completing her assignments. While she had never been as dedicated to school as her brother, I'd only had minor issues before. She always performed well enough so she could continue participating in her extracurricular activities, which she dropped, one by one. She started hedging on college. She wouldn't complete the paperwork. She started talking about a gap year. I was surprised, but I didn't want to push her too hard into something she wasn't ready for, especially something as big as college. So I said, no problem. We start talking about how if she's going to be staying home, she needs to secure a full-time job and put away a certain percentage of her salary for savings. She says she feels depressed. We connect with her existing providers about it. She already had a psychiatrist, a therapist, the works. She had all the tools. She wanted to keep working at the seasonal amusement park with all her friends. It's not enough hours, it doesn't fit the plan. She hasn't wanted to learn to drive, it's not bus-friendly. I spent so much time dropping and picking her up last summer, I felt like I, too, worked at this amusement park. I say, sorry, no, that doesn't fit the plan you agreed to. I tell her, you need to learn how to drive this summer, too, especially since you aren't going to school. She doesn't want to, says her friends will give her rides. She said that last summer, too. On her 18th birthday, she brings over her new boyfriend to meet me. I welcome him into our house. I'm excited and happy she's opening up like this. I say hello. I introduce our dog. Oh, I know Wednesday, he says. Everyone freezes. How do you know my dog? I ask. The truth starts trickling out. Our world implodes. She's been sneaking him in the house via her garden window. She's been sneaking out the same way. She has a burner phone. I found 4 vapes in her room as I was cleaning it out. She had a boyfriend, man friend, really, in Mexico for over a year. It just ended a month prior. She had been telling her brother for months that she was moving to Mexico as soon as she graduated. At least that's over. The worst part was, I found 3 months worth of her medication in her room. She just decided to stop taking it, but she lied to her doctor, and me, about that. She's gone to school and told them I kicked her out. She's living in a homeless shelter. She came to get some things and she was so cold. I didn't really recognize her. No acknowledgement of what her actions did to anyone else. She wanted to take her stuff and leave without any conversation. It didn't really go well in the end. She took her stuff and left mad. I did give her the cell phone we pay for. The only requirement was that she had to leave the location on. She went to prom on Saturday. She was back at the homeless shelter by curfew. Something impossible at home. But then, the phone didn't move for 2 days. She can't stay at the shelter during the day. She's supposed to be at school today. All of a sudden, no one knows who I am. No one can help me. She's 18. She's an adult now. She turned 18 and she just left. I never thought I would be one of those moms. I wasn't strict, I didn't yell, I wasn't perfect, but I loved her so much. I supported her so much. I took her everywhere she asked. I got her little treats. I went to the plays, the recitals, I volunteered in the classroom. Teachers knew my name. I thought we had it pretty good. But she was a whole other person. I knew nothing about. I see her making the same kind of mistakes I made at her age, and I can't stop her. I can only sit back and watch. I didn't experience this with my oldest. His birthday came and went and nothing really changed. He left for college and told me that he knew everything I ever did was for his best interest, and he told me he was sorry he fought me sometimes because now he can see that all I ever wanted was for him to be successful and happy. He told me how much he loved and appreciated me, especially since their dad hasn't been around since they were babies. I didn't stop being his mother overnight. Not like it feels like I stopped being hers. She even took me off school notifications, so I don't know now when she skips class, whether she went. My dad is flying in for her graduation. Her graduation dinner has been planned for months. I don't even know if we'll be invited to see it. I don't know if the dinner will even happen. I don't even know if I want to go. I feel like my world just fell apart. My youngest is 12 and watching with bated breath. I see her tiptoeing around me, trying to not make me cry, trying to be so helpful, so loving, so I don't miss her sister quite so much. But we all do. I miss the family I thought we had, the version of myself I believed in, and most of all, I miss my daughter. I miss the girl I thought she was, and I wonder if that girl ever even existed. No one told me this could happen, so I'm telling you. Editor's note. OP added missing reasons, a lot of context in the comment, which is why the comment section is so large. I've condensed it as much as I could to reduce the bloat. Comments. Do you think there are important parts of this story you're missing or not understanding? What do you think you might have done wrong as a parent? OP responds, I don't know. I left out some personal things about her I didn't want to share because they're her things to tell, not mine. They don't really make any of this make sense though. Maybe I am clueless. It's very possible. I've asked everyone around me that knew us. No one understands it. But there's always the possibility that I'm not understanding something fundamental about her. Okay, I've gone back and gone over my behavior 1,000 times, trying to understand what it could be. I don't know what my shit might have been. I guess wanting her to attend class, wanting her to graduate high school, wanting her to have some kind of future plan. I am definitely blaming myself. Commenter. What happened when her brother reached out to her after she left? Her brother did check on her. They got into a huge fight over it, and he told her she was being selfish, and he didn't want to see her again until she made things right with the family. I had begged him to please leave that door open, but I think he was just too angry. I keep asking him to unblock and reach out again. Did you pressure your daughter to go to college? She always said she did, but maybe you're right. Maybe she really didn't. I wasn't trying to force her into anything she wasn't ready for, though. I told her she never had to go to school at all. It was always her choice. Maybe she didn't feel that way, though. At one point, I told my son to stop harping on her about college so much because what was right for him might not be right for her. I think she felt considerable pressure about college, even though I had repeatedly said if she wasn't ready, that was fine. If she didn't want a 4-year traditional college, fine. If she wants to take a year off, fine. That, I think, is something I think all kids graduating high school feel. Were you a strict parent, and why didn't she introduce her boyfriend earlier? Why was graduating high school important to you? What? The fuck you mean why was graduating high school important to you? Okay, I had to go because I know these are summaries of the comments and thoughts, so that way there's just not too much bloat. But I went and I found the actual comment itself. And they literally said, you also say that she's left you out of school notifications so you can't be informed if she's been or not. You worry about a stupid graduation dinner. Have you ever asked yourself if school is what she really wants? The education system is not for everyone, and a lot of successful people never went to school. It's fucking high school, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? I understand being extremely analytical on what a parent posts when their kid suddenly just walks away because missing reasons. We've seen it 1,000 times. But are we actually at the point right now where it's, well, you tried to make her go through high school, and yeah, that's pretty not okay. That's pretty stupid. Is that actually where Reddit's at right now? This kind of behavior would make an echo chamber blush. This post doesn't personally give me missing reasons vibes, and the fact that I'm willing to bet all these comments we're about to see are just Reddit harping on OP about random things, trying to find any way to vindicate the daughter, and not even question the fact of she hid the fact that she had a boyfriend. She's been sneaking him in ever since dating him, apparently, potentially. She's been slacking on classes. She hasn't been taking her medication for 3 months. She's been actively deteriorating in all aspects of her life and letting things slide. And then when she turned 18, she went straight to a homeless shelter and left behind her family. But right now, Reddit's biggest lead for this potentially being an abusive household is, you tried to make her graduate high school and you were excited for a stupid graduation dinner. Anyways, let's get a vibe of OP's response. I don't really think so. Her curfew was midnight. She was allowed to go wherever with whomever. I didn't police her movements or activities. I just checked her grades and held her accountable when she skipped school. I don't know. She's always been allowed to date. I asked her the same thing myself. I would have been happy for her to have him in the house, in her room. I wouldn't interfere or do anything weird or anything like that. She often said she thought she might be asexual up until introducing me to her boyfriend. I'm not sure why she didn't prior. I was just happy she chose to when she did. Also, we're talking about high school here. She needs to graduate high school in order to get almost any job. I told her she didn't need to go to college. She knew that. Next general comments, what have you been doing to try to understand what happened? How did another former runaway's advice change your thinking? I really do welcome being challenged on this because I truly don't understand how it happened, but yeah, some of the folks here aren't being very kind. That's okay. If I didn't know me, I'd assume I did something horrible too. That's just the problem. I didn't. So none of this makes sense. I was already in therapy and I've been going twice a week since she left. I'm really trying to understand it. Thank you so much for sharing your own story. I'm taking what you have said to heart and I'm going to try and implement some of it, especially the part about other family members. Her brother reached out after and was so upset about what happened. He ended up telling her he didn't want to speak with her again until she made things right with the family. I didn't like that, and I've been trying to talk him into unblocking her just so he can reach out to him if she needs to. Why did you require her to keep location sharing on the phone you gave her? How do you plan to support your daughter while respecting her boundaries? I did. I'm not showing up where she is or trying to interfere with her life using the information, but I gave her a phone she's never paid for and said, you can continue having it and not paying for it as long as locations is on so I know you're safe. Maybe that was going too far. I could have given it back with no conditions, but I could have refused to give it back just as easily. Maybe it was the wrong move. That's a really good suggestion as to something I can do to further move forward in a productive way. I want her to know that I will show up and care for her no matter what, but I also don't want to be intrusive or push the boundaries of her personal space. This is a good in-between that can be supportive but not viewing as interfering. Thank you. For additional context, the suggestion in question was to drop items off for her when she needs them with heartfelt notes to continue giving her that space, but also ensuring that her daughter is safe and has what she needs. When I read comments like these as a quick little interjection, this doesn't come across as missing reasons, because missing reasons is, while yes, I don't know what happened, usually it follows with a complete inability to have any form of retrospective or willingness to actually try and understand what happened. They're just blaming them for, without any reason, disappearing. That's not what OP's doing. OP wants answers and are willing to look inward, which is not what missing reasons is. And while we're seeing the summations of them, some of these comments are very aggressive towards OP and trying to essentially get a gotcha moment on her. What do you think your daughter believes about everything that happened? Why were the vaping and lying significant to you? Honestly, me too. She denied not taking her medication when I had the full bottles in my hand. She denied the vapes as I held them. She denied the burner phones as I held a broken one that I again found in her room. I wanted to hear the story she's telling herself because then maybe I could understand and find a way to reach her. I would give anything to know what she's thinking. Vaping here is illegal till you're 21. I'm worried about her health, obviously, but also lying about it even when evidence is present. I mentioned the number to substantiate that it wasn't a one-time thing. I guess on this, I just fundamentally disagree with you that vaping and lying about it is a non-issue. Of course I want my daughter to be law-abiding. I don't think I'd be a very good parent if that wasn't a priority of mine. Also, I never said she was demonic or irredeemable. I didn't even mean to imply that. I'm not sure how you got that from my post, but it's not how I feel at all. I also mentioned her health, the biggest concern, and the lying, but you're dying on the hill that vaping is not a problem, so therefore, I am a controlling monster. Okay, I'm not going to change your mind. I encourage you to quit vaping though, because it is truly bad for your health. Sounds like someone felt like they were being called out for vaping and decided to attack OP for it. The commenter in question did in fact say that OP referred to their daughter as irredeemable, and even claimed it was a moral failing, some kind of demonic sign, when OP never said anything remotely close to that. It feels almost as if this commenter is projecting. They're definitely like a 16-year-old who's extremely angry at the fact that anyone would ever be opposed to vaping. That's what it comes across as. Next comment, now that some of the context or cause text, is out of the way. What did you mean by saying she struggled with rules, structure, and plans? OP responds, maybe. I hope that autonomy will keep her safe. I didn't want to go into detail about her struggles because there's a lot I wouldn't be comfortable sharing on her behalf, but I will say this. I wasn't referring to my rules, structures, and plans, but to ones in school and society. My main fear now is she won't be a free bird for long because real-world consequences are very different from ones at my home. What role has her father played in her life? He's been out of the picture since they were 1 and 2. He had drug addiction problems and was struggling with homelessness. I told him I would abide by any court-ordered visitation, which he has the right to file for as he signed an ROP, but he never did that. He just disappeared. I heard from him less than 5 times through their whole childhood. I never filed for child support. It kind of felt like an unspoken agreement. I never file for support. He never files for visitation. We didn't agree to it specifically or anything, but that's how it worked out. Next commenters, did you compare your daughter to her brother or treat them differently? OP responds, I responded to this observation in another comment. I agree it could seem like that based on the post, but I've worked really hard to avoid that particular dynamic. I don't actually compare them to each other pretty much ever. I never say things like, your brother would, or I wish you were more like your brother, or brother did this, or did that, or whatever other toxic stuff happens in that situation. They are very different. I've always known and celebrated that. I sent them to different elementary schools so they could build individual worlds and identities separate from each other. They were both public schools and were similarly rated. They were in our home district. I just asked for a school reassignment and they did it. I had to facilitate some things to make it possible, but no one got a better school than the other. They were incredibly different from one another. I wanted them both to have their own environments to thrive in. They were in the same middle and high school because that's how it works in our district. I'm not going to say the names of their schools, but if you think 2 public elementary schools in the same suburban district aren't going to be incredibly similar, I don't know what to tell you. I don't think that's what I've expressed here. I've said I tried to do my best, not that I did 0 wrong. I'm fully aware of some mistakes I've made and also willing to hear about others. Some of the feedback I've received here has been very helpful. Outside perspectives are how we learn. I didn't say her brother is perfect either. I'm actually quite annoyed with him for telling her off and blocking her because it didn't help the situation, and now one of her lifelines is cut off. They were very close to each other. The ways in which I treated them differently were because they were different. The type of conversational approach that was very effective with my daughter would shut my son down. The things she was interested in were very different from his interests. Their strengths had some overlap, but there were some areas where one outshined the other and vice versa. That's just parenting. You can't treat all your kids exactly the same. What parenting changes do you think could help repair your relationship with your daughter? Opie responds, hey, thanks for sharing your own experience and being so kind about the feedback you're giving. I really appreciate it. I can definitely see that some of what you're saying is true for my daughter, and the way you put it helped make me understand how I can try to change my behavior to get a different outcome. I really appreciate that. I don't really do a lot of intentional consequences here. Natural consequences usually are enough. The most I'd ever do is assign some chores like cleaning a bathroom. I don't do grounding, taking away phones, that kind of thing. I don't think someone's personal freedom should be affected by one mistake. I think I've been supportive of her, but after reading what you've said, I think I can be more. I think I could be more outwardly approving. I always tried to give her, like 5 pieces of positive feedback for every one negative, but the negatives still always seem to hit her so hard. I can find a way to help her feel a little more supported and encourage honesty more. Thanks again for your feedback. I found it really helpful. Maybe the most helpful thing I've read on this thread so far. As a Oz note here that I think is important to add, a bad parent isn't one that makes mistakes. A bad parent is one who refuses to take accountability for said mistakes, and it sounds like OP is not against doing any of that. Final update. 2 months, 26 days later, July 30th, 2026. I kind of doubt anyone who saw the original will see this update, but I did receive a few DMs as well as a lot of comments on the initial post, so I wanted to give an update now, 3 months later, as there have been significant developments. I did see her once, about 3 weeks after she left, when she came to the house to get some of her belongings. This exchange did not go particularly well, and that we did not come to any understanding about the situation. No more harsh words were exchanged, but we both expressed disappointment in each other, and it was a very difficult conversation for me. She left after telling me she just needed some time to sort her life out. She did ice us out of her graduation entirely. It was a secure event, so without tickets from the graduate, we were not able to attend. The graduation dinner we had planned went on as scheduled, as it had been paid for. We just didn't mention her and focused on another family occasion that occurred in the vicinity of the graduation event. It was horrible. I watched the footage of the ceremony on YouTube when it was posted by the school. She did graduate successfully. I was very happy to see that. I can say without a doubt that these were some of the most painful days in my life. My son reached out to her to apologize for his reaction about a month after she left. This was very much at my urging, but also something he said he needed to do because he said some things to her in the heat of his anger that he did not truly mean or feel at the time. She did not reply, but she did re-add him on socials, so he was able to kind of keep up with her a bit that way. Her best friend from school reached out to me at the beginning of July to say she was worried that my daughter had fallen into a bad crowd from the amusement park she worked at. She was drinking and doing drugs, staying out late at night, walking home alone in dangerous areas. I reached out to my child again when I heard this. Not to tell her I knew anything, but to tell her I thought she must be getting tired of not having a safe place with safe space of her own, and that I still missed her and would welcome her home with an eye towards moving forward rather than rehashing old hurts. I messaged her many times, nearly daily, honestly, letting her know that I loved her and wanted her to come home, asking her what I could do, if anything, to help her. She said she didn't read many of my messages when they came in, but when she started thinking that she wanted to come home, she read a lot of them. Some many times. She said the messages eventually gave her the courage to reach out to let me know she was sorry. She had made mistakes and wanted to come home. She did just that a couple weeks ago. She told me she was sorry, wanted me to help her on the right path and return home. I said yes, and she came back. Things have been a little up and down, but she is here. She's getting the help she needs, and she is safe. She's working to reconcile with her other family members. I hope we can continue moving forward in a healthy way, and I've engaged therapy for our whole family as well. I guess I just wanted to share that it took a while, but I kept the door open. Kept hoping and reaching out, and she eventually came home. Comments. Milk Dimension. You did good. Sometimes children want to act grown, but are uncaring and ignorant of the consequences. She's learned some important lessons. I hope. Opie responds, I think/hope she did. Never a dull day as a parent. I'm happy this post has a positive direction towards its ending, and this is a good example of, while on Reddit, just because a parent is estranged from their child doesn't always mean that they're the perpetrator, the abuser, or they're the one who's in the wrong. Sometimes it really just is, kid fell into the wrong crowd, I don't know what to do, how can I help? But instead you have dipshits like, why do you even want her to graduate high school? I don't know, dude. Why do you think? There was actually OP said in the beginning of the post that I related to, but I related to it because it's something my dad actually said. Something my dad told me when things were getting really rocky in my 20s and I was making a lot of dumb decisions. I see her making the same kind of mistakes I made at her age, and I can't stop her. I can only sit back and watch. While I'm definitely biased from my own personal experience, that sentence alone told me everything I needed to know about OP. I really do hope that moving forward, OP's daughter is able to find herself on the right path and able to put things back together. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77. Their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OP is Throwaway 450305, posted April 10th, 2016. To r/relationship advice. My 28 female, boyfriend 27 male of 3 years refused to pull over while he was driving, pissed himself, and then kinda blamed me for it. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 3 years. We were driving in the back roads for an hour, and near the beginning of our journey, he said he needed to piss. I asked him at least 4 or 5 times if he wanted to pull over, since he was driving, and he refused. When we were almost home, with a gas station in sight, he said he couldn't make it any longer, and pissed his pants. It was a very awkward ride home the rest of the way, about 10 minutes. I didn't mention it, and helped him clean it up, while he showered and put on some fresh shorts. He then tried to leave my house to return to his own house after he got out. I asked why, and he said that it was because of him peeing himself, and that it happened because I was mad at him over something he had said before we left from our destination. What he said wasn't relevant to the previous to us getting into the car. I had told him I didn't want to talk about the issue for an hour, and just wanted to cool down a bit before we discussed it, as I needed some time to process things. I wasn't overly chatty during the car ride home, but I wasn't giving him the cold shoulder or anything. He said he just wanted to get home to discuss it. Totally against his character, he's completely against confrontation, and that he didn't want to pull over, so he could get out of the car quicker. I didn't really understand his explanation, but I haven't pushed. Reddit, I'm having a hard time dealing with this. On one hand, I know that bodily functions sometimes cannot be controlled, but he was in full control of the car and himself and refused to pull over. Then he kinda shifted the blame to me. I've had a hard time looking at him the same way. I mean, he is a grown man. Why is he pissing himself? I feel terrible for feeling this way, but he never acted embarrassed or anything. Just kinda got defensive. I asked him if this has ever happened before, and he insisted that it hasn't. Am I overreacting to what happened? I feel like I might be. Too long didn't read, boyfriend was driving and needed to pee, he refused to pull over, and pissed his pants. Blamed me because I was upset over something he had said on why he did it. Relevant comments, KEYZ Gold. No, you aren't overreacting. He pissed himself instead of pulling over for a minute. He was fully in control of his body and his car the entire time. His actions are a result of his own decisions and have nothing to do with you. I'd have trouble respecting him ever again after hearing him blame me for his decision to piss his pants. It's like a toddler yelling, "Look what you made me do!" Opie responds, him acting like a toddler is what it kind of felt like. I was like, "Why did you do that?" And he was like, "'Cause you're mad at me?" I was so confused because I don't see how the two correlate. I'm having a really hard time feeling sexually attracted to him since then, which I'm not sure is normal or why I feel this way. It's just like he tries to initiate and I cannot get turned on at all. User Dragon Fruitfly comments, maybe because it would be hard to be attracted to someone who behaves like a 3-year-old. Comment from user Tsuki. Wow, I mean, he was probably embarrassed and became defensive to cover up his shame, but still, he could have pulled over at any time. He has nobody to blame but himself for pissing his pants. He's acting like a toddler, and it'll be smart to look back and see if this kind of behavior is a pattern. Blaming you for his own mistakes is a shitty thing to do. Opie responds, he does have a tendency to blame everyone else for his problems or mistakes. Nothing is ever his fault. Update, April 29th, 2016, 19 days later. If you can't see the original post, try Googling the title. That thread blew up way more than I thought it would. I had originally posted it before 6 months ago when the incident originally happened, and didn't get any response, so I truly thought I was underreacting and kind of swallowed my concerns. But over time, they kept creeping up, and I started noticing more and more that everything was my fault in his life. So I decided to repost it again. This post really affirmed that I knew, but didn't want to accept for whatever reason, that the relationship had to end. The thread made me think a lot about my life and what our life together would look like. All I could think about was this, his pissing himself, happening again in the future. I thought about us having children and how he would deal with them. I thought about having to make tough decisions with him. I thought about making tough financial decisions. I thought about having to go through life events, like losing a parent. I realized that I would always be blamed for things that went wrong, even though they were not my fault or in my control, and that he wasn't someone I could truly rely on for support. It just took him to literally and purposefully lose control of his own bladder for me to see this. I broke up with him a few days after the original post. I told him I wasn't happy with the relationship anymore and that I wanted out. He didn't really fight or ask why, so it was a surprisingly easy breakup. He has had other issues in his life and refuses, in general, the idea of therapy, so I didn't even suggest it for whatever issues he has going on when I ended it. Not really my problem or concern anymore. Despite being together 3 years, I was surprised with how relieved I felt when I let it go. Pun totally intended. I think I'm more in the relationship for a day or two, and I've been totally fine since. I've been hitting the gym almost every day at lunch and have had plans every night with friends or family. I generally am a social person, so I really haven't let the loss of the relationship get me down. I guess, if anything, this whole thing has really opened my eyes to trusting my gut and my instincts. I knew him pissing himself was fucked up, and I knew and felt like he was blaming me. I should have trusted my gut and ended it right then and there when he truly showed me who he was. Too long didn't read, boyfriend pissed himself and blamed me, broke up with him a few days later, I'm totally fine. Final comments. Electrobolt. God bless you for updating. You made the right call here, and I'm sure you have better things ahead. Opie responds, I wasn't even going to update until I saw another thread update last night that I was super concerned about and wondered what ended up happening. And I was like, maybe people want to know what happened to the girl whose boyfriend pissed himself. User ObiterDicta80 comments, great job, OP, and I feel reasonably confident saying that this will never happen to you again. OP responds, I can say with the utmost certainty that if a man ever pisses his pants again in a car with me in it, I am tuck and rolling out of that moving vehicle. Or, in any other circumstance, I will definitely, figuratively, and literally run away. User built-in comments. That made me laugh. I think you should be open to others about this if you haven't been already. Family, friends, new boyfriends when you get there. It's such a what the fuck scenario that it makes a great dinner story. Opie responds, I've only told my mother and best friend. We have a lot of mutual friends, so I don't really want to go around spreading this. As good of a conversation/dinner story it will be, I'm not really malicious. I will definitely bring it up to future boyfriends though. So, if your partner or friend or really anyone is unwilling to take any kind of accountability for their actions or any kind of retrospection and constantly blames anyone but themselves for the consequences of their actions or things going on around them, that's someone you should probably put some distance between. I've definitely had my fair share of encounters with friends who will blame anyone but themselves for the consequences of their own actions. Hell, in some cases, even blaming me. But if someone has a history of blaming everyone but themselves or always having someone who screwed them over, and that's why they didn't do X, Y, and Z, maybe take a step back and reevaluate a few things, especially if they're a consistent source of drama in your life. On a final note for this post though, it's kinda crazy this guy literally did the thing where, which I feel like I've made this joke at least some point in my life, you piss yourself and you blame someone else for pissing your pants. Like, he actually did the thing. Also, as someone who will obsessively detail my own vehicle's interiors because I like them being clean, I am shuddering at the thought and idea of how much effort it would take to take out a grown man's full bladder worth of piss out of either cloth or leather seats. That's never getting out. This post was clicked by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is State of Disbelief, posted to r/relationships May 26th, 2015. My 35 male, wife, 31 female, had my sister-in-law, 33 female, deported. I had to come on here and get some kind of sideline perspective because currently, no one else in the family knows the reason sister-in-law is deported is because of my wife. Not sure I should out her either in my current state of mind. Sorry if this is long/disorganized, my mind is currently in chaos. Background. We've been together for 8 years, no kids. Basically, all of this began when my brother and sister-in-law moved back to our home country, after he had been living in sister-in-law's country. Prior to that, my wife Emma didn't have an issue with sister-in-law. My wife and sister-in-law are both from the States, but my wife has been living with me in my home country since we got married. My brother and sister-in-law are what some people might call free-spirited. Sister-in-law is from Portland, something my wife rolls her eyes at, and is very hipster. They both smoke regularly, something I don't have an issue with, but don't feel like getting involved with either. My wife has no issues with drugs or drug use, but she can't stand how much my brother and sister-in-law talk about pot whenever we see them. 6 months ago, my wife decided to finish her master's degree and was offered an opportunity to do a semester abroad. Coinciding with that time, my brother and sister-in-law moved back here permanently. However, from what I understand, sister-in-law is technically still on a tourist visa, which has expired by now since they came in February. I'm not really sure what was going on with the whole paperwork process. They seem to be bad at planning. Sister-in-law has mentioned before that she wants to have a kid with my brother because she would not only get paid maternity leave here, but it would cement her staying. She told my wife this over Facebook messages as well. When my wife left to do her first semester abroad and brother and sister-in-law moved in, we hung out a lot more. At first, my wife was cool with it and would say hi, etc. But things changed when bro and sister-in-law invited me on a road trip to Sweden. Something that my wife has always wanted to do with me, but never got around to. After that, she would become short in her answers whenever I said I was hanging out with them. She began to make subtle comments about sister-in-law, and the more I saw them, the more vicious the comments got. As a result, I didn't go out with my bro so much when I knew sister-in-law would be there. I love my brother, but honestly, he takes a lot of energy to be around, so it's not something I really minded too much. However, things came to a head when both sister-in-law and my wife entered the same photo competition. My wife entered first, and then sister-in-law saw her post and entered 2 days after. Then she and sister-in-law engaged in pretty childish, subtle Facebook statuses about each other, always masked as someone or this person. My wife was pissed, and I took the opportunity to ask her what was going on between her and sister-in-law. She basically told me that she resented how sister-in-law got to see me all the time now and how she feels inadequate compared to her because sister-in-law does all the cooking, although it's mostly those minimalist dishes people make for Instagram and not very appetizing for me, and I'm the one who cooks in our marriage. Sister-in-law is also Asian, and I made the mistake of telling my wife that I had a thing for Asian girls back when I was 20 and everything Japanese was all trendy. She was also upset that I had gone to bro and sister-in-law's wedding without her, while she has been abroad during her bachelor's degree. She also is afraid that I'm going to start smoking again because of them. I told her it was not something I was interested in because pot mostly makes me paranoid and depressed. She also brought up that she hates how I will talk shit about my brother and sister-in-law, mostly about their need to constantly talk about smoking and some of their very out there ideas about things, but act perfectly fine to their faces. She said she feels like I'm placating her by saying sister-in-law is annoying, but I still go see her. She said it makes her feel like I'll lie to fit the situation, and that bothers her. Well, I hadn't seen bro or sister-in-law for a few weeks now, and my wife and I were back to normal. She came home and we were having a good time seeing all our other friends. She didn't even bat an eyelash when I said some of the guys had invited me out for a guys' night. All was good. Then, last week, my brother called and asked me if I wanted to hang out. He sounded pretty high, and I told him no. Emma casually asked what was up, and I told her. She got a bit quiet, then shrugged and went back to doing whatever. About 10 minutes afterwards, she said she was going to take the dog for a walk and run to the shop to get some vegetables for dinner. This is basically what went down. She went outside, called the police anonymously, and said that she was a concerned neighbor and could smell marijuana coming from my brother's flat. The police came, my brother and sister-in-law were arrested and fined. However, when they went to pull up sister-in-law's profile to record the incident, they discovered her expired tourist visa. She had to be transferred to a sort of holding facility for people who are in queue for being deported. Now there's a whole shitstorm happening. My brother is beyond upset and the family is shocked. This isn't really something that can be worked around as 1, marijuana is illegal in this country, and 2, she was on an expired visa and they didn't file the correct paperwork for her to live here legally. So if she's deported, she may face a 5 to 10 year ban. This means either the end of their marriage or my brother will need to figure out how to move to the US with her. The thing is, no one knows it was my wife except me, and she doesn't even sound the least bit remorseful. We had a huge row about it, and she stood by her decision, saying that if sister-in-law was that stupid to do illegal drugs as well as not have her papers in order, then it was on her. If I'm being honest, I don't care so much about sister-in-law being deported, but I care that my wife felt so threatened by her that she went to this length. She's the type to make subtle remarks and be frosty, but she has never done anything close to this before. So now I'm in a real bind. I really don't know what to do. I definitely cannot tell the family, and I don't really feel the obligation to anyway. I'm not close with my mom because she left me as a kid, and I don't talk to any of my relatives except my dad and brother. But I cannot just let this slide. I need to impress upon her that she has potentially ruined a marriage, all in effort to remove someone she finds annoying from our lives. Someone we don't even have to see every day. What advice can you give me? There's no one else I can even talk to about this. Relevant comments. Commenter. She completely violated your trust. She knew what she was going to do, but she lied to you about going to the store instead because she knew you'd try to stop her. That means she knew what she was doing was wrong. She also got your brother arrested. At the very least, she needs to come clean with your family, sister-in-law included, and apologize. Let her face the consequences of her actions. Maybe she'll learn something. OP responds, yeah, I feel at fault for giving her the information about this. I shouldn't have said anything, but I also never thought it would go to this level either. And I agree, she needs to apologize to at least my brother and sister-in-law. Commenter! Your wife took their stupid high school rivalry thing way too far. There are plenty of people that I can't stand in this world, but I would never go as far as to call the police on them short of an actual crime/safety issue. This is a big deal, and while I don't know what you should do about it personally, I would divorce over this. OP responds, I don't know about divorce right now, but I think therapy together needs to be a must. If this is who she really is, I don't know. It's like you said, this was taking a rivalry way too far. Deleted user comments. How do you forgive someone who ruins your own brother's marriage for something this petty and stupid? If anyone did that to my sister, I would never speak to them again. User Lovely Polly comments. How did you find out about her role in getting your sister-in-law deported? Did she tell you she made the call? OP responds. Well, when I got the call from my mom that brother was in jail and sister-in-law was getting deported, I told her. And she said, yeah, I know, I called the cops. Deleted user responds. So you're basically going to ignore what she did to your brother. He has a drug arrest now, and for most countries, that limits the type of jobs you can take and eventual promotions at jobs he can qualify for. He can no longer travel to a host of countries, including his wife's home country, the US. You said he took you on a trip to Sweden. Sounds like a guy who enjoys seeing the world to me. Your wife ruined that for him. His spouse can no longer live with him in his own country. He can't go to hers. But you're okay with the deportation thing? I could not live with my husband knowing he did that to my sister. Why are you so okay on behalf of your brother? OP posts an update in the original post. Holy hell, this really blew up. I will post a real update soon, but your comments and messages are very appreciated. Things are quite tense at the moment, but tomorrow we have agreed upon a sit-down. We'll update letting you all know what happens now with us in the situation. As of this moment, sister-in-law is definitely being deported. Too long didn't read, wife and sister-in-law have a rivalry. Wife called the cops on sister-in-law while knowing that sister-in-law has an expired visa. Sister-in-law is on her way to being deported. Update 1, May 27th, 2015, the next day. So there's a lot to catch up on here. First, sister-in-law is on a flight out tomorrow. There's nothing that can be done at the moment to keep her here. She now has a stamp on her passport that says expelled and a 10-year ban from entire Schengen area. The immigration officer my brother spoke to said that it is possible for the ban to be reduced, but that is the current official time given. The American embassy was also notified about this. My brother is a wreck. He was briefly able to visit sister-in-law in the holding facility, and she gets to call him twice a day. But that's it. They don't know when it'll be possible to see each other again, or where. If he's unable to go to the US because of his arrest, they might agree to meet in a mutual country. Sister-in-law has family in the Philippines, so that may be an option for them. Many of you told me to tell him what my wife had done, but honestly, in his current state of mind, I just can't do it. It would be the actual tipping point for him. I know that this probably means I will have to either never tell him or accept that when I do, it will completely destroy our relationship. Secondly, I did tell one family member. My mother came to visit to discuss sister-in-law's deportation, and I ended up telling her what Emma did. She was furious, and she insisted that the both of us talk to my wife. Well, my wife and I had already agreed to have a long talk today about the matter and what this meant for us. I felt a little more grounded having my mother there. And then, things just took a freak turn. Wife sat down, seemed really calm. She let my mom say what she wanted and just sort of sat there, nodding, and her hands folded. When my mom was done talking, she pulled out her phone and handed it to my mom. She showed her messages from sister-in-law on Facebook telling my wife how she planned to have a baby in order to stay and get paid maternity leave. My mom is extremely sensitive to this sort of thing because her own mother used her, a pawn, so to speak, many times when she was a child, mostly to get money from the state. So my mother went from being extremely angry at my wife to actually siding with her. She said it was better this way because sister-in-law's motives for having a baby were misguided, and that she couldn't believe my brother was going to go along with it. So, with my mom on her side, my wife began to lay out sister-in-law's shortcomings and how she was creating a toxic environment that would drag us down and any potential child they would have had. She also said that it was unfair how she had to go through the process of paperwork before coming here, and my sister-in-law was resting on her laurels and scheming to cheat the system, something that really pissed my mom off towards sister-in-law. Valid points, all of them. However, I wasn't going to let it slide that she obviously had ulterior motives such as being jealous of sister-in-law. I asked her if she would have done any of this if sister-in-law and my brother weren't spending so much time with me, if sister-in-law wasn't cooking dinners for me, taking photos, or entering the same competition as her. She admitted that all these things definitely contributed, but only served to underline the disdain she already had. I told her that no matter how you cut it, she had effectively ended their marriage. My mom decided to jump in and said that sister-in-law and brother were at fault because they did not get their situation in order. My wife seconded that and said if sister-in-law had taken the time to file papers instead of planning trips with me or being busy playing housewife to someone else's husband, she wouldn't be in that situation. To quote, maybe she should have been taking care of herself and her own instead of trying to play housewife to someone else's husband. Well, I can take care of my family just fine, and if she had any doubts about that, now she's in the clear. I will admit, the points about her being afraid that I was going to be implicated along with sister-in-law and bro when it comes to pot, I understand. That is a valid fear to have. They smoke almost every day. Bro almost always has something on him. Sister-in-law should have done her paperwork. She should have made sure her visa didn't expire. I will not argue that. She probably should not have said she was going to have a baby specifically to stay here. But I know that these are solid excuses that are being used in conjunction to something else. I know that if sister-in-law was some fat, ugly slob, wife would roll her eyes and let them be. If sister-in-law was not Asian, if she couldn't cook, if she didn't take pictures of us together for her Instagram, sister-in-law would just be chalked up as another annoying person who smokes too much for her taste, but was ultimately harmless. And if I had just gone to Sweden with my brother that my wife wouldn't care. But because I went with the woman who was playing housewife to me, it was a serious offense in her head. I waited until mom left to tell her all of this. She didn't deny it. I also told her that this whole situation had let me see a side of her that honestly scared me. I told her I wanted to begin couples therapy together or there were no hopes of this continuing. She agreed and we both began to research therapists in our area. She apologized for not talking to me about calling before doing so, but she has not apologized about sister-in-law being deported. She also said if I wanted to tell my brother and sister-in-law that it was her, I could go ahead and do that. But I'm not going to. One, they are distraught enough, and two, it seems like her coming to claim victory one last time over sister-in-law to her face. So that's what's going on. I'm hoping to post an update on our progress when we begin couples therapy. The issue for me right now is rebuilding the broken trust. Also, as far as things with the family go, well, my mom is on her side, and should my mom decide to tell other people in the family, she will definitely make sister-in-law the bad guy in the story. Aside from my brother, I think most of the family would be on Emma's side. Too long didn't read, sister-in-law is being deported for certain, brother is crushed, still doesn't know it was my wife who called the police, my mom sides with my wife, we are going into couples therapy. Relevant comments. Commenter. I'm concerned that your wife has this secret in her back pocket that could end your relationship with your brother at any time. OP responds, I agree. I know I have to tell my brother in order to stop that from hanging over my head. I just feel that right now is the absolute worst time. What if he did snap and do something completely crazy like assault her? He would end up in prison and with no way of even trying to maintain a long-distance relationship with sister-in-law. Commenter. If you don't tell him now, you're going to ruin your relationship with him. Letting him lean on you and your wife for support while your wife is the one that stabbed him is wrong. I would rather him be angry than hurt and feel betrayed by your wife and you later on. I'd rather just rip off the band-aid. In addition, your wife deserves everything she's going to get. Don't protect that bitch. Most relevant comment. This is some Gone Girl level shit. Update 2, May 28th, 2015, one day after the first update. This is the last post I will write on this issue for several reasons. The first would be that many of the responses made me feel sick to my stomach. Advice is one thing, but there is no reason for anyone to say that they hope someone dies. They hope my wife gets a horrible disease, calling her every awful name in the book. That is not advice and not welcome. I was more willing to listen to people who commented saying perhaps she had BPD or some other type of psychological disorder, because that at least I could give them credit for. There is absolutely no reason to comment saying, your wife is a stupid cunt and I hope she dies, or message me privately with that. At the end of the day, she is my wife. Secondly, a lot was assumed about my brother, and that is probably my fault. I love my brother, but he is 34 years old and still smokes pot every day, and acts pretty much the same as he did at 18. He needs to grow up. Him being a father would not have been a smart choice. He doesn't even have his own shit together. He and my sister-in-law are kind people. Yes, they are family. But my brother hasn't been here for me. My brother hasn't stood by my side in every event I needed him. He left home when he was 18 and barely wrote to me on Facebook for the next 6 years. My wife, on the other hand, has stuck by me for 8 years. She has been there for me when I needed her. She's been my rock and she's had my back. I'm not going to abandon her just because my brother is a blood relation. I'm going to go to therapy with her and we will see what happens. She may have been cold and calculating, but she is not without cause. And that's it. Short, update, and to the point. I couldn't stomach any more of the hate I was getting. Thanks to those who gave genuine advice. Too long didn't read. I chose my wife. Final comments. Commenter. It is amazing to see the absolute drastic change in perception of the situation from you. You've almost gotten from feeling sick from her actions to siding with her. I hope you do what you feel is right. Commenter responds, of course he has. The master has been at work. She knows her art. Ugh. Dude, there is not a single person in this story who I feel like I can root for. OP is currently sweeping things under the rug. That rug is gonna get lumpy, dude. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. It's gonna eat at you. The wife scares the shit out of me, because I recognize this archetype. And good fucking god. Manipulative, triangulating, knows what she's doing, careful planning, makes sure to turn everyone she can against the target, and just, good god. You can actively see OP making concessions to the story to essentially legitimize her shitty behavior. A lot of the complaints about her playing housewife, by the way, sounds like sister-in-law was just trying to be kind to her brother-in-law and just be a good host or be a good friend while he's alone without his wife. And what did she get in return? Deported. But of course, that doesn't even begin to touch on the whole dynamic between brother and sister-in-law, because they're not in a good environment, they're wanting to have a kid for exactly the wrong reasons, and Oh god, that is just not an environment to have a child in. I'm gonna be 100% honest. They need more stability in their lives. But does that mean they should be deported for it? No. God, no. Definitely should have had the papers in order though, but still. Holy shit. Also, the line, she also said if I wanted to tell my brother and sister-in-law that it was her, I could go ahead and do that. That is right out of the playbook right there. She knew exactly what she was doing with that comment. By offering that, she appears to be in the boat of, I'm willing to take accountability for my actions, you can go right ahead and say it. But she knows he won't because one, it's gonna put a shit ton of strain on his relationship with his brother and on the wife. Everyone's now gonna be looking at the wife and being like, why the fuck did you do that? And if that does happen, she already has her plan in place. She adds the cards down. She already tested her theory with the mother. She knows what she can do. She beta tested her exact line of argument. Like, we saw that in real time. You gotta ask yourself, if she's willing to be this cold and this calculated to destroy your brother's marriage, potentially permanently, and tear those two apart so they could potentially never see each other again, on a whim, because she's jealous? What else is she going to be willing to do in the future when someone crosses her path or looks at her wrong? And she got her hooks in him. It went from, yeah, my brother and I, we hang out all the time. We just kind of do our own thing, and we've been really close recently. Then in the final update, it's, I didn't really know my brother that well anyways. Like, you guys see it, right? Well, here we are. The outro. I think Gamer Subs is still doing the Christmas in July, so use code out at checkout for 10% off, and for every few tubs you buy, you'll get something free with your purchase. I actually might try to take more time off in the future because I definitely really needed that. I'm still trying to get back into the groove of things because taking that much time off is, well, definitely throws a wrench at ya, but feel good. Feel really good. Feel like my brain is no longer jello. Definitely needed that.